You ever notice how the people who seem the most confident are often fighting the hardest battles inside their own heads? While you're looking at their perfect life, thinking they've got it all figured out, they're actually drowning in thoughts they'd never say out loud. So what if I told you that your mind has been hiding an entire personality from you? A shadow self that's been pulling strings this whole time, and you never even knew it existed. Stick with me, because what you're about to discover will completely change how you see yourself. Carl Jung, one of the most brilliant minds in psychology, uncovered something that most people spend their entire lives running from. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why you do the things you do, why certain people trigger you, and how to stop being a prisoner to patterns you never chose. If this resonates, hit that like button, because what we're diving into, most people will never have the courage to face. Imagine you're walking down the street, and you see someone you know. They smile, wave, act all friendly, but the second you turn around, they're talking about you. Now here's the question. Which version is the real them? The friendly one or the backstabber? And here's where it gets uncomfortable. You do the exact same thing. We all do. We all wear masks. We all have a version of ourselves we show the world, and then there's the version that exists when nobody's watching. Jung called this the persona and the shadow. Your persona is the character you play in public, the acceptable you, the one that follows the rules, smiles at your boss even when they're being ridiculous, nods politely during conversations you don't care about. It's the carefully constructed image you've built to survive in society. But here's what most people don't realize. The more energy you put into maintaining that perfect image, the stronger your shadow becomes. Your shadow is everything you've rejected about yourself, every angry thought you've suppressed, every selfish impulse you've denied, every dark desire you've pushed down because good people don't think like that. It's the parts of you that society told you were unacceptable, so you buried them deep. But burying something doesn't make it disappear. It just makes it grow in the dark. Think about it like this. Your mind is a house. Your persona lives upstairs, in the bright, clean rooms where guests are allowed. Everything's organized, presentable, Instagram-worthy. But your shadow, it lives in the basement, in the locked rooms you pretend don't exist. And every time you deny a part of yourself, every time you say, "I'm not that kind of person," you're throwing another piece of yourself down into that basement. And eventually, things start leaking out. Ever snap at someone for no reason? That's your shadow. Ever feel intensely triggered by someone's behavior? That's your shadow showing you what you've rejected in yourself. Ever have thoughts that shock you? That's your shadow reminding you it still exists. Because here's Jung's devastating insight. What you resist persists. The more you deny your shadow, the more control it has over you. Now here's where this gets really interesting. Most people think the goal is to destroy the shadow, to become some perfectly enlightened being who never has a dark thought. But Jung said that's actually the most dangerous thing you can do. When you try to kill your shadow, you're declaring war on a part of yourself that will never surrender. And that internal war, it destroys people. Look around. How many people do you know who present themselves as perfect, who never admit to struggling? Think about how exhausting those people seem, how fragile their confidence appears. That's what happens when you wage war against your shadow. You become a house divided, and a house divided cannot stand. So what's the solution? The answer is integration. You have to face your shadow. You have to acknowledge it, understand it, and accept it as part of who you are. Not act on every impulse, but recognize that having those impulses doesn't make you a monster, it makes you human. Let me give you an example. Let's say you pride yourself on being nice, always putting others first, never causing conflict. Sounds admirable, right? But beneath that niceness is a shadow filled with rage. All those times you said yes when you wanted to say no, all that anger didn't disappear. It went into the basement. And one day, it's going to explode. Here's something to think about. What part of yourself have you been running from your entire life? Drop it in the comments. Now let's talk about projection. When you refuse to acknowledge your shadow, your mind projects those denied traits onto other people. You see in others what you can't accept in yourself. Hate people who are arrogant? There's probably a part of you that wants recognition, but you were taught that wanting attention is wrong. Can't stand people who are selfish? You likely have needs you've been ignoring for years. Triggered by people who are too emotional? You've probably spent your whole life suppressing your own feelings. The things that trigger you most are actually mirrors. They're showing you exactly what your shadow contains. Jung said it perfectly. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The people who push your buttons aren't your enemies. They're your teachers. But here's where it gets even deeper. Your shadow doesn't just contain negative traits. It also holds your hidden potential, your repressed creativity, your unexpressed power. Maybe you were told to be quiet when you wanted to speak up. Maybe you were shamed for being too ambitious, too bold, too different. Those qualities got thrown in the basement too. So how do you actually integrate your shadow? Step 1. Notice your triggers. When someone makes your blood boil, pause. Ask yourself, what part of me am I seeing in them that I refuse to accept? Step 2. Have conversations with your shadow. When you feel an uncomfortable emotion, don't push it down. Sit with it. Ask it questions. Why are you here? What are you trying to tell me? Your shadow isn't your enemy. It's the neglected child version of you that never got what it needed. Step 3. Bring the shadow into the light slowly. If you've always been the nice person who never says no, practice setting one boundary. If you've always been tough and never show emotion, allow yourself to be vulnerable with one trusted person. Integration is gradual. And here's what happens when you do this work. You stop being so easily manipulated. People can only control you through your shadow. They can only trigger you if there's something unresolved inside you. But when you've integrated your shadow, you become untouchable. Not because you're perfect, but because you're whole. If you could give your shadow a voice right now, what would it say? Comment below. Jung believed that dreams are one of the primary ways your shadow communicates with you. Those weird, uncomfortable dreams, they're messages from the parts of you that can't speak any other way. Most people ignore their dreams, but Jung said that's like throwing away urgent letters without reading them. This is why people have breakdowns. It's because they've been ignoring messages from their shadow for so long that it finally forces its way to the surface. The midlife crisis, the sudden career change, the unexpected relationship explosion, these aren't random. They're the shadow demanding to be heard. Here's the ultimate truth. You can't love yourself if you're at war with yourself. And you can't be at peace with others if you haven't made peace with your shadow. Every relationship you have is filtered through your relationship with yourself. And if you're rejecting parts of yourself, you'll unconsciously create situations that reflect that rejection back to you. This is why the same patterns keep showing up. Same type of toxic relationship, different person. Same conflict at work, different job. It's not bad luck. It's your shadow trying to get your attention, creating scenarios that force you to face what you've been avoiding. But the moment you turn toward your shadow instead of running from it, everything shifts. You stop attracting chaos because you're no longer chaotic inside. You stop seeking validation because you've validated all parts of yourself. You become whole. Jung said, "I'd rather be whole than good." He's saying it's better to be authentically flawed and self-aware than to be fake perfect and internally fractured. So here's what I want you to take from this. You're not broken. You're not too dark, too messed up. You're human, which means you contain multitudes. Light and shadow, good and bad, all existing in the same person. And the goal isn't to eliminate half of yourself. It's to integrate all of yourself into something real. If this video shifted something in you, hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe. I've got so much more to show you about how your mind really works. Your shadow isn't your enemy. It's the part of you that's been waiting in the dark, hoping you'd finally be brave enough to open the door. So open it, face what's there, and watch how everything changes when you finally become whole. See you in the next one.